folks, welcome back. Bear Clan Sedona Hiking Podcast. I'm doing another interview today. I'm blessed to have Jonathan. And here's the thing. I want you to, is it Sprague?
Sprague.
I had a friend of mine that grew up with me and his last name spelled the same way.
Yep.
Sprague. So I was like, Jonathan Sprague. So I'm here with Jonathan today. He's going to be answering some really cool questions and we're going to get to know a little bit about him. First off, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, any information that you think people would like to hear about you.
My name's Jonathan. I'm from right here in town. I'm one of the homegrowns. I love hiking and mystery. Unanswered questions, they bug me. So I try to answer them best I can, whether with my own flesh and blood or technology or a mixture of the two. I got 4 kids, married. I married my high school sweetheart.
Nice.
I'll be in Sedona. I'm going to be one of the old timers. I'll be here when I'm 80, man.
Beautiful.
I ain't going nowhere.
I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens for me too. I wasn't born here, but a lot of us that are here now are always called this place home for some reason.
Sedona calls her own, man.
Yeah.
I've seen people show up here with like $3 million. They buy 2 homes. The city rejects them, and inside of a year, they're gone.
Right.
Then I've seen other people show up with nothing but a couple $100 in a wallet and a prayer, and in 2 years, they own a successful business and they're thriving.
Absolutely.
So she totally chooses her own.
She does. So as far back as you can recall, since you grew up here, what's your first memory of Sedona? Do you even have a first memory?
My first memory of Sedona, probably riding my old dog, Odie. When I was a kid, me and my mom and my dad, we took a trip up to Montana. My dad liked to bear hunt, so Montana was a great place to go, Idaho. And my mom's got a bleeding heart, and we were driving down a dirt road, and she saw a dog tangled in a fence, but it wasn't a dog. It was a wolf puppy. And the electric fence had burned off all the hair on his ass. Ouch. Literally took it right on down. The first 3 layers of skin gone. The follicles gone. So my mom cut the fence. And even though my dad objected, we took the puppy home. My mom nursed it back to health. My dad's like, that thing's going to grow up to be a monster. And he did. He, Odie Butt, because he had no hair in his ass. He never grew that hair back.
Nice name.
Yeah, he was a good dog. I loved Garfield at the time as a little kid, Odie grew to be about 225 pounds. He was a big canine.
Piece. Nice.
And he died when I was like 10 or 11. But all the way up until I was 8, I would literally ride this animal up and down Harmony Street in West Sedona.
Nice.
And it was a different time back then. I was 6 years old walking around town with a 22-250 on my back. Nobody even batted an eye.
Of course, yeah.
And between that and Odie, my mom let me run around the deserts for as long as I want. As long as I was home before the sun touched the western horizon, she didn't care.
There you go.
So it was definitely a different world, man.
Yeah, the good old days.
My dad, God bless and keep him, always told me to encounter a problem, assess it, adapt to it, and overcome it. So you can complain about, a town evolving and changing, but all things change, no matter what. So you can be miserable and fight it, or you can evolve along with it, and I choose the latter.
Yeah, kind of try and figure out where you belong in the new, whatever the new is.
Yeah.
Now, did you do a lot of hiking as a kid?
I didn't call it hiking. I would go hunting.
Oh, right.
And so my hunts would last 10, 15 hours.
Yeah.
And back then, Dry Creek Road and most of West Sedona, at least the upper neighborhoods, were all still dirt roads. There was a lot more wildlife here back then too. We had a lot more deer. We had elk in the winter coming down off the rim. We had black bears coming into town. Was kind of normal.
Right.
You can actually gauge the health of a town, the mental health of a town by the wildlife.
Right.
And so wildlife starts to vanish and things start to get a little weird, which obviously, especially with some things that have happened around the area over the last year, is definitely starting to be the case.
Absolutely. Do you hike much here in Sedona now? Is it something that you're doing?
No.
Do you wish to do it more, or is it just life?
Right now, I have not been hiking a lot, mostly because I've got 4 children. I've got a newborn.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. I got a brand new business that's just exploding underneath my feet.
What's the business, if you don't mind asking?
The business I run is called Sedona Handy Wolf, and it is a fix-it company. So you can pick any item in this room, from your refrigerator, your clock, your little tea thing over there that breaks. I can repair it.
Yeah.
I can fix your antique desk. I can fix the drywall, the roof, the electrical, just about all of it.
Nice.
Company, we do total builds. Lately, though, I've been getting approached by a lot of customers that want antiques built, but they want new antiques.
New antiques, making something look old?
No, I got a couple in West Sedona. They're actually pretty famous. I used to paint with Bob Ross for 27 years on Channel 8.
Nice.
And they hired me to build valances, but they want them made in the traditional manner. Well, traditional valances are made out of mahogany and poplar, and they are glued together with pine resin, doweled. And so I recreated that, and I built 3 of them. And next week I'm building 17th century Spanish storm blinds.
Oh, so you're building them in the way they used to be built? Is that
yes?
Okay.
Yeah. And this is just what the customers. We got a lot of eccentric people here. They want it. You know, their checks don't bounce. I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
it's
absolutely. A lot of work.
So a question I like to ask everybody is, do you have a favorite place to go in Sedona? If you were to pick a spot that you would like to go by yourself, when you go on your own, where do you go? Be as vague as you want so that we don't have to.
As far as the city, I don't like anywhere here, to be honest, man. Everything that attracts me is outside the city limits.
So let's go outside. What is the favorite
currently,
place for you?
My favorite canyon, most interesting canyon, would be Subcanyon 9A of Boynton Canyon, mostly because it's got 3 complete villages. Most people don't know about the native villages in the area. The Southern Sonoguas, the Anasazi, they were also, the Hopi stayed in them, so did the Yavapai Apache. Yeah. They've been built, destroyed, rebuilt dozens of times. Yeah. That would probably be my favorite place because it's got the turtle shell or turtle shield village, which is a really unique property. If you're in that alcove standing in those ruins and somebody drops a pebble 100 yards away because of the way the canyon's shaped, it sounds like it's right next to you. It's so cool.
Right.
And then a little bit further down that canyon on the right, there's an old cowboy camp inside of an artificially carved out cave, goes back about 15 or 20 feet. And then there's 2 cattle pens right next to it, and that's still intact. Nice. There's actually cow poop in there. I would love to get it
analyzed to find out how old it is.
Just how old it is, you know what I mean? It's probably 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
Most people don't understand how big the area is. Yeah. The Red Rock District is the size of Rhode Island, turned on its side, going north and west here. Yeah. But keep in mind, this number is just off of what I've counted manually on a map, but it's got over 9,700 interconnected endomorphic canyons that is only 14% surveyed, and that just blows my mind.
Wow.
So we quite literally don't know what's out there.
Right.
I mean, up until 8 years ago, you know Montezuma's Castle.
Yep. Well,
I got approached by the center, the archaeological center, and they had heard rumors about a canyon or a city that was located south of here, a native city. Mm-hmm. The area's a no-fly zone for planes because of the wind shear. The canyon's small, so no planes are allowed to fly in the canyon. They can fly above it, but you can't see stuff from above like that.
Right.
So I went out one time with a drone, and they'd sent out teams several times to try and locate this thing based upon drawn maps and rumors.
Yeah.
And I sent out a drone, and I started running search grids, and I located I call it the hidden city. It makes Montezuma's Castle look like a
Lego set.
Yeah, man. This place is 3 stories high, 200 yards long, and 2,000 feet above the river below.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible. I don't think they'll ever develop it. It's just too dangerous.
Yeah.
There's only one trail to get in. There's lots of snakes, man. I've never seen that many rattlesnakes.
Wow.
And not the normal
quiet area. They've got room to roam.
It's not the normal just diamondbacks you see around Sedona. These are Mojaves. Green Mojave is a dangerous snake. Yeah. It'll chase you. Most people, a snake is going to chase you. It's not a worry. Well, that particular snake can slither at about 17 miles an hour. Unfortunately, your average running speed's only 13.
That's if you're even in good shape to run.
Right. So, so I always carry a stick. I don't kill them. I just move them aside if I can.
No reason to kill them unless your life is in danger. That's the truth.
Unless I'm going to eat it.
So because you've been here for so many years, in your opinion, how have things developed and improved or devolved?
Some things have improved. Naturally our economic situation in the area has exploded.
Yeah.
When I was a teen in the 90s, it was timeshares. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing guys at work that, had no education really. They just were friendly and they were good salesmen. Showed me checks for like $67,000 that they'd gotten in just 1 week's worth of work. York, I can't even imagine that kind of money.
Right.
And nowadays it's Airbnb.
Yeah.
You know, just like back in the
VRBO,
90s and the
Airbnb.
early 2000s, people complained about timeshares, and now they're complaining about Airbnb. It's no different.
Yeah.
They're not going to be here much longer, to be honest. They've
Yeah.
got about 2 years tops, if I had to call it.
Right. It's going to be a big battle coming up in the coming years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably see city council, some of the powers getting returned to the city on how they regulate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And until then, I'm going to keep preparing the things because it's good money.
Right.
You know?
Don't let anything affect you unless it affects you. Right?
I just try and, I grieve for a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends can't even live here anymore because
Absolutely.
the cost of living's just gone through the roof.
I mean, I think our rental percentage is only like 4%
It's
of
very
availability.
small, yeah.
So if you've got a place, you want to hold on to it. But it's hard to.
Me and my wife are gearing up to buy a house in the area, but not in Sedona. We're going to be down Upper Red Rock if we can find a spot to land. So
There you go.
I'm super excited about that.
Nice. So tell folks a little bit more about your drone stuff, because I think that's an impressive part. I mean, I have pros and cons in my head about it because I like privacy.
Yeah.
So I don't want drones flying over my house, especially because we like sleeping outside.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of privacy needed, but at the same time, you're doing something a little bit different, and it actually has a deep, cool purpose to it. So give everyone a little bit of taste of your droning.
About 10 years ago, 10 years ago.
What year are we in?
I'm sorry, I'm just still waking up.
That's all right.
Our company doesn't even open until 10 o'clock, and I normally don't leave my house till 11 to go do work. I started a soft nonprofit about 10 years ago called Sedona Cave and Trail. It was so weird how it began. I was on this application on an old iPad called Stumble Upon. Mm-hmm. And you enter in your interests, you take a test, and you hit the button. And it pulls up random IP addresses and websites, just random, based upon loosely your interests. Mm-hmm. And you just, just like with YouTube, how you scroll through different videos.
Right.
This, you just keep hitting that button, and it keeps pulling up different things. And I hit the button, and I pulled up an old survey PDF from the 1970s for the Red Rock District for Sedona.
Nice.
And I discovered how big the area was. As far as the canyon lands, it's 792 square miles, big. And it was only, at the time, 6% surveyed. And they threw in the towel, declaring the area too inhospitable to warrant further exploration. And so, that echoed in my head for a few days, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, it's just a canyon. There ain't nothing out there but mountain lions, bears, and bushes.
Right.
And I'm like, they should have finished up what they started. So I'm like, I need a hobby. My partner at the time was telling me I needed a hobby that didn't include beer and guitars. I took all 792 square miles and I gridded it into search grids, starting in different areas. And I just began searching it grid by grid by grid, 1 square mile. And so basically, if you walk up to a cliff and you look at it and you see enclaves and, little sub-canyons or vertical canyons or holes, I've looked in every single hole. I've looked in every single sub-canyon. Fast forward a few years, and we have been doing ground surveys, ground and pounds. God, we got tore up too, man. I got lots of scars on me, believe me. We'd send out long haulers, is what we called them, people that could cover, 8 to 10 miles in these canyons without a trail system and do it in a day, maybe 2. And they were competent enough out in the woods that we didn't, lose members.
Right.
And that quickly escalated. We started renting out entire helicopters for $750 an hour. Mm-hmm. And we'd go to a canyon complex, and I would sit there with a pair of binoculars in one hand, a GPS in the other, to mark the sites that we would see, the archaeological sites, because that's what the AZGS and the USGS, when they were here, they were mapping structural and minerals, and that's it.
Right.
But I saw the archaeology in the area, and how, places that I used to go as a kid, right here in town, they're gone.
Of course.
And there's absolutely no record that it was ever there, period. It's just literally been razed. The tourists have picked it apart.
Yeah.
And, people think that, I'm going to take one pottery shard and it's not a big deal. Well, you do that, and then the next 10,000 tourists do that, and before you know it, the site's been archaeologically destroyed. The people, especially at the anthropology department, NAU, they come down here to study these things all the time, and they can't tell what happened anymore because the visitors literally destroyed the map. So
they'll either destroy something or they'll add to it and then change it, and then things are
they
constantly being adjusted.
They pick up the pottery out the ground, and they put pottery on the walls of the ruins. I can't stress enough how damaging that that is.
Yeah.
Leave that stuff alone. Just leave it lay. Take a picture. Pick it up and look at it you want. Just put it back where you found it.
Yeah.
That way, when they come through and study an area, they can actually make a map of where the pots were, where the people slept.
Get them a better idea as to what was going on back then. Instead of assuming, why would they have put everything on the wall? They don't. They wouldn't have.
No, they don't. In this area that's known, we have two extinct cultures. We have the Southern Sinagwans that are extinct, and we have the Anasazi, or the ancient ones, that are extinct. And we don't know what happened to the Southern Sinagwans.
Right.
We don't know what happened to the Anasazi.
Right.
Only way they're ever going to figure that out is if they keep mapping these things the way that they do. So I started piecing together a map, a comprehensive map of where all these things were located.
Yeah.
And naturally, renting out helicopters every month got really expensive really fast.
Yeah.
We did it for about 8-9 months. And then the first production drone hit the market. I saw it. It didn't give you much range, about 100 yards tops.
Ooh, yeah.
But 100 yards...
When you're in a canyon, that's actually quite a bit of good distance. Yeah.
I could send a drone out instead of sending a man out or myself having to hike all the way up there just to find out that through the binoculars, all I was looking at was a trick of light and shadow.
Yeah.
I could send the robotics up, and that would give me a little bird's eye view, give me a little bit more intel before I put my life at risk. And we did that a lot.
Yeah.
And that graduated. Now we have drones that have a 12, 15-mile range.
Yeah.
And I could fly from where we're sitting all the way to Hanoki, and not a problem. And if I wanted to, I could land the thing there, or I could bring the drone within 2 feet of what I need to see. Yeah. It also allows us to mount things like thermal imaging cameras, night vision cameras.
Technology's growing beautifully for this.
It is, especially with the thermals. We can strip away all the trees and everything on a computer, not in the drone, but once we have the footage, the telemetry, we can feed that into a computer and mess with it and make it where the trees are almost gone. That way I can look underneath them and see, okay, well, there's a tree here and bushes all around, but the rock wall that's underneath all that stuff is actually absorbing more radiant energy from the sun than the bushes are. Right. So I can see the outline of those ruins through my scope.
Nice. That's cool.
Okay, if that was there, then what was over here? And other things like if I find petroglyph panels, you might see one or two things, but I'll take pictures of that at 20K, and then I start throwing filters on it. And as I pull the filters and mess with the saturation, I can bring out images that you can't see with the naked eye. It's actually how we found Broken Door Village.
Really?
Yeah. Broken Door Village is, it goes into the rock quite a ways. There used to be bodies inside of it years ago, but there was a collapse and it closed up the back section of it. When I say bodies, I mean very old bodies, skull caps, femurs, things like that. Yeah. I thought they were deer when I first saw it, and then I looked at it closer and I was like, oh, that's a person.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah, right. Now with the drone technology, we've taken it a step further. We actually wear incredibly high definition goggles, which gives us the feeling and the elation of being inside the device flying in real time.
Wow.
Instead of a pre-programmed flight where I don't even know what I've seen until I get it onto a computer, now I can observe it in real time and fly. I'm able to deal with things. I mean, the magnetics in Sedona are literally off the chart. Yep. And all drones and all aerial devices, including tourist helicopters, have a chip inside of it called an IMU. And that tells the computer which way is north, south, east, and west. And it's not a big deal when you're a helicopter pilot and you got your hand on a stick and you're flying. Yeah. But when I'm in a drone on autopilot and all of a sudden I hit, for lack of a better word, a vortex, a magnetic resonance field, all of a sudden north is no longer north. It's down at the ground. My drone will take a head dive and dive straight towards the ground, going to where it thinks it's supposed to be. And I've got to be able to slip out of that mode into ADI mode or free stick and pull out of that dive before it destroys a $3,000 device.
Right.
We have several drones, about 5 of them currently. To date, we've wrecked 2. One fried from one of those energy fields. It destroyed the IMU chip, and it just fell out of the sky. Thankfully, we weren't flying very high up or over a populated area. And the second one was just a motor mount malfunction. The engine just took right out.
Flew right off.
But these are, that was years and years ago. The technology's evolved. They've problem solved all that stuff. Mostly out of their design. And so it's just neat, and I got a knack for abstract flight. Yeah. It's just not everybody can fly these things.
And a lot of people are trying to.
I find a lot of drones out in the Red Rock District just lying on the ground, usually up on top of rock structures.
They're not familiar with how it can be affected in a place like this.
No, they're not.
This is different than Idaho or Nebraska.
Yes.
This is a whole lot different. There's something
a lot different.
Yeah.
We think it's because of the rocks. So as you go down in the Sedona strata, as I'm sure you've noticed being a hiker yourself, that our rock is very sparkly.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll find pockets of quartz crystal.
Yeah.
Quartz can regulate the flow of free electrons. It's just a natural state of that particular matter, that mineral. Well, every year we go monsoonal. And as you go deeper into Earth strata here, the quartz content of the rock gets thicker and thicker until it's almost completely solid, not like a giant crystal city like some of these hippies around town say. It's just quartz. It's just a pretty thick vein of it.
Right.
Now, when we have our massive thunderstorms, which we normally have, we haven't had really
we haven't had a good one in a couple of years.
Yeah, no, it's been real weird. That energy hits a rock and it travels down through the ground towards the core. It does that here, Piedmont, North Dakota, Idaho. It's just how our planet works. But here we have that quartz down below, and that energy gets stuck. Well, not all of it, just the positive electrons. The negatives goes right on through it like it doesn't even exist. At that point, it becomes very pseudo-electric in its potential. Mm-hmm. With our monsoon seasons comes a whole lot of rain. That causes the water table underneath that to rise. And I think that there's some kind of mechanism that causes these things to field out. Because I've noticed when I'm flying now, keep in mind that when I talk about these energy fields, I'm not talking about the Cathedral Rock or any of these other places.
Vortex locations.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about places where it's actual, it's tangible. You can measure it with a device. Actually, here in March, Benjamin Lonetree, a physicist and an electrical engineer lives up on the rim. He's bringing some equipment down. And he's already been on a Discovery Channel once for these magnetic fields proving that they exist here.
Right.
It's nuts. In some places, you can set a compass down in the rock, and if it's the right time of year, that thing
Zing!
spins like a frickin' helicopter so hard that it'll shake across the rock.
Yeah.
But it also destroys things like electronics, cell phones, smartwatches, laptops. Yeah. It's why when I go hiking deep in the mountains, my backpack is literally a powered Faraday cage. I built it myself into my backpack. It's got a 9-volt battery so that if I get impacted by one of those mag fields, I don't destroy it. Because, I mean, just in my backpack right here, I've got $7,000 worth of electronics in that thing right now. And I've got 4 kids, so I don't got no bloody money to replace that.
Right.
The Sedona Cave and Trail runs fundraisers when things break, but, I mean, I don't want to put that cost off onto the public if I don't have to, so I try and take care of it. Yep.
All right, so last question I'm going to ask you is, can you tell us 3 things that nobody else really knows about you? I mean, I know your wife and your kids probably know some of these things, but for the locals, the people that know you but don't really know you, give me 3 things
that people don't know about me?
Yeah.
Well, everybody in town knows I'm a cartographer, and they all know that I'm a climber, and that I call it the shelf life. I walk the shelves. Mm-hmm. A foot wide, 2 feet wide, doesn't really, matter. It's just, I like being up in the high places, but what they don't know is that I suffer from vertigo.
Wow.
And a massive fear of heights to the point of almost incapacitation.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
And here you are doing what you do, like I do, get up, get in, and
that's the horse, man. Get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Albeit, I don't take as many risks as I used to because I've got too many mouths to feed. If I fall, then I don't know what that poor woman would do. So
right.
There's 1. 2, scars. I've had over 3,700 stitches and staples in my lifetime. My body looks like an old pinstripe Ford. So keep that in mind when you go out into the mountains here.
Yep.
Everything in Sedona has tooth, claw, nail, is poisonous and wants to kill you. It's a desert.
Yep.
So you got to watch out. Even the plants are nasty, man.
Yep.
Acacia, oh my God.
I have a lot of prickly pear and agave and stuff inside my body still. You just do. When you scramble and you're having a good time finding something, you got to take a little beating. I say if you ain't bleeding, you ain't hiking almost.
Right. I always bleed, at least a little bit. Matter of fact, my side of the bed, if you look at our sheets at home, you'll see these little stripes, little black stripes, and it's not as ink or the kids coloring on the sheet or something. It's literally just because I went to bed still bleeding on my arm or my leg or my back or whatnot.
Yeah. And
3, while I'm scared of heights, I absolutely love flying. And I'd say within 3 years, that's why I always tell people, you got to get used to drones because you're about to be riding them. It's quite literally, it's being researched and developed right now for the general population. And I'd say 3 to 5 years max before
we'll be seeing it.
There'll probably be a company here in town that rents them. I'll probably rent from them. The price tag on these things is going to be like $250,000 a pop.
I'm sure.
Powered flight, when it comes to flight, multi-rotor or quads or just your standard drone configuration is the most safest form of flight. I can lose one of my engines and I can still limp back to my house.
Right.
I'm sure that the ones that people rent will be no different. You'll probably be getting your food delivered by them here in about a year or two.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. And that's about it, really, man.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for spending time with me. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah. It's good to have you sitting in front of me instead of seeing you on your bike and you seeing me on the Segway as we ride by and wave.
Ride by and wave, yeah. I always see you and the people out there. It's pretty cool.
So thank you again for your time and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you out on the rocks, brother.
All right. You too.
Thank you again, everyone, for listening in to today's podcast. Your time and energy, of course, is greatly appreciated. Please download these episodes, favorite them, share them, and even visit my YouTube channel for some insanely cool videos of Sedona. It all helps me to continue to bring you more exciting podcasts about hiking Sedona and other things. For those of you wanting to dig a little deeper, maybe you're struggling with some inner issues, or maybe you're recovering from an addiction, or just looking for inspirational discussions about healing, check out my other podcasts on your favorite podcast players. Things like Path to Recovery, Cognitive Awareness with a Touch of God, and my amazing Star Wars The Bear Awakens podcast. Learn more about how Star Wars and the God consciousness are essentially one and the same. Thank you very much, folks, again. God bless you all, and we'll see you on the rocks.